Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing my November reading wrap-up. I'm very excited because if you saw in the title, I'm also announcing that I'm doing Bookmas in this video. So we are going to talk about all of the books I read, which I didn't even read that many books this month, as well as talk about what Bookmas this year is going to look like. First, let's get into Bookmas and what it's going to look like on my channel. So Bookmas is obviously BookTube's version of Vlogmas, which is when creators would post every single day in December. Bookmas has kind of turned into you post either the first 12 days consistently every single day, or you post the last 12 days of December. That being said, with having all of your favorite creators posting on Bookmas or posting for Bookmas, it kind of becomes this content dump, and then all of a sudden everyone stops posting at the same time. I thought in order to kind of give a little bit of space in between each of my uploads, as well as also giving you time to watch other people's Bookmas videos, I am going to be posting every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday leading up till Christmas, as well as posting a video on Christmas. Obviously, this is if Bookmas goes to plans. This is if I can make sure I get all of these videos up and ready. I've been pre-filming a lot, which is why I have not been posting a lot in November. I do apologize. I posted one video in November, but it was a very busy month. I was kind of in a little bit of a reading slump, which you will be able to see with my reading wrap-up we're going to talk about today. And I was also pre-filming and pre-editing for Bookmas. Today is Friday. This is going to be the first upload. Do not freak out that you're not going to see me for 2 days. You'll see me back on Monday with another Bookmas video. Let's get into all of the books I read this month, starting off with an audiobook that I listened to. So this month was the month that Spotify actually announced the whole, you get 15 hours of listening time for an audiobook. I mean, I listen to podcasts all the time at work, and so I was like, you may as well. I right now don't have a library card, so I don't have access to Libby and a ton of free audiobooks. I decided to listen to Icebreaker by Hannah Wells, I believe is the author. This book is actually insane. Now, this is a very popular book on Book Talk. It is about a hockey player and an ice skater. They are in college, and she is obviously training to go to the Olympics. I believe it's like a D1 school. Something happens, and they basically have to end up spending a lot of time together because they have to share an ice rink. You know, she's always needing to practice, and the hockey team is always on ice practicing, everything like that. You follow them. He's definitely very flirty. Everyone knows what this book is about, but let me just tell you, I don't really love reading smut. This book, for having a cartoon cover, has the most amount of smut. I was having to skip full-on chapters. The Uber chapter, is it Cruel Summer or False God? It was a Taylor Swift song that was playing. I don't know. I had to skip so much of this book because I'm not listening to that. Oh my god. I gave it a 4-star. I thought it was a pretty good book for what it was. Obviously, it's going to be one of those little bubblegum romance, college sports romance books. And I think if you're a reader who likes smut, you're probably really going to like that book. Henry was my favorite character in that book. I actually did get the second book, which is Wildfire. I don't know if I'm going to get into that anytime soon. I might save it for the summer because it takes place in the summer camp, but it was just recently released. I'm happy that I finally understand what that book is about, and I can say that I've read it because it's super popular on BookTube. And then I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I did an entire reading vlog on this book. In this little reading wrap-up, I also want to talk about the differences between the book and the movie because I just recently saw the movie. So this is President Snow's story. It is the prequel to The Hunger Games. This is the 10th Hunger Games. I'm trying to figure out how I can say this without super spoilers. Well, I guess it's not even spoilers because you understand most of what happens in this book from reading The Hunger Games. The 10th Hunger Games is Lucy Gray Baird's Hunger Games, and it's the first Hunger Games where mentors exist, and Snow is a mentor for Lucy Gray Baird. Now, Lucy Gray is a District 12 contestant. Obviously, The Hunger Games and Suzanne Collins, she writes such great books that are talking about things that are actually happening in society, but she's able to kind of wrap it up in a little book with a bow, hand it to you, basically be like, no, it's a fictional book, like it is what it is, but it's talking about problems that are happening today, problems that we deal with today. I have so much respect for Suzanne Collins and this series and everything that comes out of her brain because it's just amazing. This book did take me a while to get through because I was getting a little bit of a reading slump, a little bit of a life slump when I started this. So I did rate it a little bit lower just because it took me a while to get through it. I gave this book a 3.75 star. Honestly, looking back on it, it's probably just a 4 star. I don't need to be super picky with this. But getting into the differences between the movie and the book, I wrote them in my notes app because I went to go see the movie with my brother, oh my god, my sister and her fiance. Neither of them have read the book. Neither of them are big readers either. So I was sitting there just like talking their ear off about all of the differences between the movie and the book, and they were kind of like, Chelsea, shut the fuck up. I wrote a list of all of the differences, and I don't know, I just need to talk about it because I think it's very interesting. This whole book is basically Snow's inner monologue. That is how in this book you know that he's not a good person. He is constantly doing good things for Lucy Gray, but it's out of the wrong place. He's doing it for his own selfish reasons. So in the book, you get all of that inner monologue. You're able to see that. But in the movie, you don't have any of his inner monologue. And I'm not going to lie. I talked to Sarah and Gus about this, and they agree with this. The movie paints Snow kind of to be a good guy. Like if you didn't read the books, probably wouldn't understand that he is the bad guy of the story. Because in all honesty, he was brainwashed by the Capitol as a child. So he's only doing what he knows. Is he a terrible person? Yes, he had so many chances that he could have redeemed himself to be a better character and be a better person. He was just doing what he knew and what he was taught to do. I think it's very interesting because if I had not read this book and I didn't know that the Hunger Games, the actual movies, existed, if I were to watch The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I would go into this series thinking Snow was a good guy. Obviously, except for like the last 15 minutes of that movie, but let's get into it. And we also showed up to the movie like 10 minutes late because it was super busy, so we missed. This is going to have super big spoilers. Skip this part if you've not watched the movie, if you've not read the book, or if you don't want any spoilers. But we got into the movie theater, from my understanding, if they did follow the book, after the scene where it opens up to him eating the cabbage that's salted. We got into the scene right when Tigress gives Snow his shirt that he needs for the reaping ceremony. Now let me just say, also in this book, it doesn't really talk about like what happens to Tigress, or in the movie it doesn't really show what happens to her and why she becomes what she becomes in Mockingjay, I think is where we see her character in the Hunger Games series. The biggest difference I first noticed is they don't talk about why the Snow family is poor, versus in the book you learn that they are poor because they invested in District 13. I believe it was like in the weaponry that was held in District 13, and then District 13 was bombed, so they lost everything that they had invested in. That is a very significant detail, especially because now like we know the importance of District 13 in this series. It was just very interesting that in the movie they don't really talk about why the Snows are poor. Also in the movie, instead of it being that the Capitol introduced taxes, which is how it is in the book, that the Capitol is introducing like a taxing system, we just get in the movie like that the Snows are getting eviction letters, which again is not talking about why they don't have money or anything like this. This is a super big difference. In the book, like literally more than half of the tributes die before the games start, and the games are really fucking boring in the book, to be honest. But I understand that they wanted to make the games more interesting for the movie because the games are the biggest part of the original trilogy. The games in the book, there's the tunnels that basically all of the tributes go in and hide in, and if I'm remembering correctly, there are no cameras in the tunnels in the book. So for more than like half of the games, they're just sitting watching and they're not seeing anything because none of the tributes are on camera, versus in the movie all of the tributes make it to the games. I'll get into something else that happens, one death that does happen. All of the tributes make it to the games. They have so many cameras. There's cameras everywhere. The games are just a lot more important in the movie, versus I feel like in the book they don't really matter that much, versus what happens after the games matters more. I talked about this in my vlog where I was like, I don't know how they're going to do this scene in the movie to make this appropriate for kids, but there's a scene where I forget what her name is, but she's related to, I believe it's head game master or whatever in the first movie slash book, but she is the one who is basically taunting her tribute with, it was either food or water in the book, and she gets her her throat slit in the book. And I remember in the vlog being like, how the hell are they gonna put that in the movie? Like, I don't know how they're going to make that any age appropriate. Like, The Hunger Games is obviously a YA series, so that is kind of a lot to put in a movie, and they changed it. It's not like that big of a difference, but instead of her getting her throat slit, she basically gets like, she was taunting the tribute with like water or some sort of like juice in a bottle, and the tribute breaks the bottle and stabs her in the neck. So that was like a little difference that I noticed. In the book, basically Snow goes home every single night for the most part when the games are going on, and I believe it's the first night he is walking to his apartment and Ma, which is Sejanus's mom, is at the Snow's apartment. She's crying because she doesn't know where Sejanus is. He hasn't come home. That is when they see on televised broadcast that Sejanus is in the arena, if I'm remembering this correctly, because now I feel like I'm kind of blurring the movie and the book together a little bit. That is when he basically is told that he needs to get Sejanus out. I believe it's like through a phone call or something that Dr. Gall is like, you need to get your friend, he's in the arena, and he's like, yeah, I know. Versus in the movie, Snow has fallen asleep. They're still at the academy watching the games. He's at his little desk, and he wakes up to Dr. Gall right in front of him saying that his friend is in the arena and that he needs to get him out. For the most part, I don't think there's many differences from Snow actually getting Sejanus out of the arena. There's still that tribute that dies, everything like that. A big difference that I noticed is there's not really any interaction between Snow and the Plinth family. I believe that's how I say the name, Sejanus's family. In the book, Ma is constantly feeding Snow. She's always like offering to take care of him because obviously in the book, Snow is a good friend to Sejanus. In the movie, we only see Sejanus's parents once, and it's once he gets out of the arena. In the book, Lucy putting rat poison in like any water, any food, anything like that is less obvious, versus in the movie, it is very obvious that something's going on. The water bottle one where I believe she was like District 11 where she died, that could have been like pneumonia or whatever she was dealing with. They could have written it off as she died from that. But when Lucy sprinkled the rat powder from the little tunnel into kind of the vent so that one tribute breathed it in, that was very obvious. I feel like in the movie they made it a little bit more obvious that, you know, Snow and Lucy had cheated and that Lucy had rat poison. Also, the book, it's a little bit less obvious. Snow just gives her the compact and tells her to put rat poison in it, versus in the movie, Snow gives it to her with rat poison in it. She doesn't know what is in it. She just knows that she should not breathe it in, should not ingest it. That is a slight difference that I also picked up on. Another big difference that I noticed is in the book, Snow has to make more of an effort to find Lucy when he gets to District 12 after the games, versus in the movie, the first scene that we get of them in District 12 is the first hanging scene. To boost morale, they get like visitation, like they can go into the town for the night. The whole issue in the book of him trying to find tickets to go see the Covey, anything like that, he just basically stumbles upon the bar in the movie and sees Lucy Gray right away. Another big thing is in the book, Snow is so entranced and in awe of Lucy Gray when she is performing the Snow, True as Fresh as Snow or whatever that song is, versus in the movie he leaves. I did see someone say that they had to do it like that because since we don't get Snow's inner dialogue, that was like the only way that they could kind of show that Snow isn't actually in love with her. He is more so using her for his own good. I will say I definitely still kind of struggle with this when I picture Tom Blythe as President Snow, but you know, there are some scenes in the book where Snow is kind of like, you know, maybe this life could be good enough for me, maybe she could be enough for me, and then he goes back to being a dick. The next big difference that I noticed from the book and the movie is there's this whole issue in the book that they're not able to be paid until their first full month out in 12, and so they have no money. That was kind of another issue on top of Snow wanted to buy tickets to see the Covey and he had no money to do so. He finds Sejanus has a wad of cash. This is kind of a red flag to him. This is kind of the first thing that alarms him that maybe Sejanus is up to something, because Sejanus had also been saying that he has no money, he can't really do anything, everything like that. Versus in the movie, Snow sees that Sejanus is talking to rebels. Obvious big change was when Sejanus gets hung. In the book, he doesn't know who betrays him. I think maybe they talk about how he kind of had a look of realization like right before it happened, but in the movie they play the recording of Sejanus basically admitting what Snow had recorded on the Jabberjay. I am kind of confused how they played that, but then they still had the scene at the end of the movie where Lucy Gray is trying to be like, who was the third person you killed? Because I feel like it's very obvious from the recording that was played that it was Snow that recorded that. The last difference that I noticed is another very obvious one. In the book, I feel like it's a little bit less obvious. It's kind of more like the song. It just is that like she disappeared. We have no idea what happens to Lucy Gray. In the movie, we see a scene where Snow shoots her. I do have a feeling and kind of a theory that that was more him hallucinating, because at that point he's kind of going crazy. He has no idea where Lucy Gray is. But that I don't believe happens in the book. So yeah, those are all the differences that I noticed between the book and the movie. If there are any more differences that you noticed, I would love to hear them. Please leave a comment of them, because I'm down this rabbit hole of ballads and songbirds and snakes. If you have any differences that you've noticed between the book and the movie, let me know. I'm gonna get back into the other books that I read this month. Sorry I did a long tangent about that, but I just needed to talk to someone about that because it's been heavy on my brain. The next book that I read is Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This is Ali Hazelwood's YA book. This I loved so much. In all honesty, it didn't even really feel like a YA book to me. It just felt like a romance book that is closed door. I gave this book a 4.5 star. I'm not going to talk a lot about this because I do have a reading vlog that will come out this month where I read this book in it. Very good. It is very heavy in chess. This is the first time that I've read an Ali Hazelwood book that has, you know, some sort of niche topic that it talks about, where I've actually noticed that it is super heavy in that niche topic. Her other books are very science heavy, but it's never really bugged me or bothered me. This is literally all about chess, all about tournaments, all about different things in the chess world, and I have no idea about any of them. So I was just kind of reading this for the vibes and the romance, but I really did like it. And then the last book that I read this month is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This book is like every romantic-y girlie's just piece of cake. I've been seeing everyone reading this. I believe Sarah Caroli is kind of the one that put this on everyone's radar. This is about Peyton and Kai. In this world, everyone has powers, and if you don't have powers, you basically get killed for being ordinary, is what they're called. Peyton is an ordinary. She has no powers, but she has to pretend that she does in order to survive. Kai is the prince. He's the son of the king, and he is the enforcer. So he is the one who goes out and does killings of the ordinaries in this society. And there are these games that they have basically prove that the person who wins the game is the strongest and has the most important ability, yada yada yada. Peyton and Kai both end up in the games, and there's a romance that comes out of it. It's very good. I gave this book a 4.75 star. I don't think it's as memorable as it is for other people for me to give this a 5 star, but I did really like reading this. This is also in another reading vlog that I have coming out this month. Those are all the books that I read this November. I am super excited for Bookmas and for you guys to see all of the videos I've been working on. I'm still working on them. I'm gonna go film a couple videos today and try and edit some. So if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I will see you in my next Bookmas video. Yeah, bye.